keep your eyes closed. Don't look at the sun with your eyes open. Because there's no right way or wrong way. There's just my way, which is the right way. Isn't that right?
Hello everyone, and welcome to Film Sandwich. I'm Ken Ron Burgundy.
And I'm Mark.
And on today's episode, we are reviewing the FreeFly Wave
McGillicuddy
high-speed camera that Mark...
Flippity Fly Free Wave. Flippity Fly Wave camera.
We all know Mark never remembers the names of the products.
It's called Flippity Fly Wave camera.
Right. So this is a high-speed camera with a Super 35mm sensor. It'll shoot 4K, 420 frames at DCI 4K. It'll shoot 1,440 frames at 2K. It has an internal storage of 2 terabytes, and that's one of those NVMe M2 hard drives, the faster solid-state hard drives. And it's super light. It's 716 grams. So you could throw this thing on a gimbal. You can throw it on a drone.
There's nothing to it. Literally, there's nothing to it.
Here, we'll show you. This is the camera right here.
Does it have?
It has 3 buttons.
That's it.
3 buttons. It's pretty cut and dry. It's a one-trick pony. It just shoots high frame rates. Now, you can shoot higher frame rates with the less vertical resolution. The less vertical resolution you have, the higher frame rate you can go.
Yeah, it goes like this.
So there is one, like the highest frame rate, it's like a sliver, like you can't even see anything. It's not even, for production purposes, it is not worth shooting those high frame rates. Now for scientific purposes, you might be able to see something. Now
this is starting to compete with the Phantom Flex line of cameras, which is way more expensive. They start like 100 grand and go up from there.
The Phantom Flex, yeah, they shoot 4K raw, 1,000 frames per second. This one doesn't quite get there. This camera is a lot less expensive though. It's about $12,000 on B&H. Now that is just the camera, the little brick here with 1, 2, 3, 4 ports and 3 buttons on there.
No monitor in the back, no LCD screen.
So what they said,
no focus.
Yeah. Everything is manual on here.
No peeking.
They said they didn't put an LCD screen on there to help save on heat.
No waveform.
So that means that they could make the entire back of the camera a heat sink.
They took a sensor, they licked it, put some glue on it, and slammed it to a heat sink, and then put a little processor in it, added 3 buttons, and out the door it went.
Pretty much.
That's how they built it.
So yeah, this camera, we rented this camera because, you know, what do production guys like to do? We love to see things in slow motion, things that usually move fast, but in this beautiful, like, breaking things and things catching on fire.
And we all seen 60 frames. Remember when 60 frames came out? Like, oh my God, 60 frames.
Right, and now cameras are doing 120 frames
no
in
problem.
4K.
Some 240.
Yep. Well, that's usually in 1080, but
yeah.
You know, the standard is getting to be 120 in 4K, 240 in 1080. But this camera in full DCI 4K will shoot 420 frames, and it does look beautiful.
And I learned all about the camera. I took it myself and researched everything, went out to the field, did everything on it, made sure I knew exactly how the camera operated, and was completely familiarized myself with the camera.
Mark literally did none of that.
It came in, and I handed it to Ron.
He handed it to me, and then I took it out in the field. I took it a few different spots. I'm going to show you some things here.
And yes, that is rain.
Yep, that is rain there, in case you hear that. So now this, my brother has a bee box at his house where he keeps his bees. So the highest that this camera will shoot is a little bit more than DCI 4K. So it'll shoot that at 300 frames per second, which is what you're seeing now. All these little busy bees flying in and out of there. And then you can see their wings are still flapping pretty good, right?
You gonna talk to me about the birds and the bees, Ron?
I'm telling you, I'm showing you about the birds and the bees.
Show me the bees.
Kids, close your eyes. I'm showing Mark about birds and bees here.
When 2 people love each other very much, they look into each other's eyes, and the bee puts something tiny in the bird's belly.
Okay, so just to let you know, if you're like one of us, filmmaker, video production people,
extraordinaire,
you're gonna want to shoot in the highest quality you can and the highest frame rate you can. And it shoots either in 4K or 2K at the horizontal resolution, and then you can go like really high to like down to like 128 on the vertical resolution. Thank you. But you don't want to shoot the 2K. The 2K stuff looks super muddy, and you're not going to really want to use that. So let me show you. This is 4K, 422 frames per second. We got some bees here buzzing in. You can see here, like some of the bees, they're not very coordinated. They kind of bounce around and stuff.
Drunk on honey. That's what it is.
So we got a lot of bees here. They're flying into the little hole. All right, so that is 422 frames per second. Let me show you, I'm gonna show you bees at 511 frames per second, which it doesn't look like much difference there. Let's go to 833 frames per second.
Ah, now we're getting that vertical squeeze going down.
Yeah, so you see how the vertical resolution here is less, but you see them bees. Look at them bees, they don't want to get in the shot.
I can know some talent like that.
Right? But one of them gets in the shot at some point, right? Oh, here's one in the corner. Oh, look at that guy. Look at how cute they look super cute when they're slowed down, don't
Now
they?
your skin stinging the shit out of you.
Now, if you're allergic to bees, you probably hate these things. But anyways, 833 frames, pretty slow. Let's go to 1,000 frames per second. As you see, the vertical resolution is getting less and less here. We'll go a little bit higher, a little bit more in there.
Did you get stung by a bee doing this?
I got stung by 0 bees. I'm a bee whisperer, in case you didn't know. Actually, no, bees don't really mess with you. Like, I'm literally right in front of the hive. They're flying in and out of here. They bounce off my face. Nothing. It's only when you aggravate the bees that they don't like you.
I would probably aggravate the bees.
You would probably, they just
This
look
is my
at,
sheer presence.
they would just look at you and be aggravated.
They would sting the crap out of me.
All right, so here is 1,954 frames per second. Yeah, you see even less vertical resolution here.
So
but
definitely for scientific purposes at this point, because
yeah, because
Yeah.
you're probably not really, I mean, maybe if you're gonna do a 1080 frame, you know, but it still doesn't look as good as the highest resolution. Now I have one here at 2,673. Look at that sliver of footage right there.
sliver.
So yeah, I mean, you can get some cool looking shots there. Maybe if you were gonna like make a standard definition video, you can zoom in on that. So I also, my favorite drink, Crown Royal.
Crown Royal.
I did some, you know, pours here. I did it in a controlled environment with plenty of lighting.
So we had two two Frozes or whatever.
I have 2 Nanlite 500s and then 1 Nanlite 300.
Full power.
They're all full power, 100%. And then I gotta zoom, here we go. And here comes the Crown Royal pour. I think I spilled a little bit. Here it comes,
You're a
boosh.
bad pour, man. Look at that alcohol
that.
abuse. You're missing the glass, bro.
Look at how like mesmerizing this pour is right now.
It is pretty good. It looks good.
Look at the swooshing and all
Liquid
the
in
bubbles.
slow motion, you can't beat.
This is the 422 frames per second.
You're still on the other side.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And what's funny is like I just did this, and then that was
Wow,
it. That was the pour. But you know, it's definitely longer here.
I mean, the reality of it is, if you're not shooting slow-mo for your main part of your business, it's going to sit on a shelf. It's going to sit on a shelf until you need to shoot that really high-speed slow-mo stuff. So it's a great rental camera, for sure. But to get a camera and to put it on the shelf,
Yeah, I mean,
it's just not.
you're definitely gonna,
yeah.
you know, need to, you know, have some clients or some things lined up. Like, definitely rent for sure. It was like 400 something bucks to rent it for a few days.
For borrow lens, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at this mesmerizing shot of water coming out of a hose. I mean, look at that. Doesn't that make you happy inside?
Yeah, it makes me happy.
It makes Mark really happy. I'm gonna show this. I'm gonna show you what Mark. We did some shots out here, outside
This
the
is what
studio.
makes me happy.
Let's see here. We got Mark on. We
Fire,
got. He lit
fire,
this
fire.
sponge thing on fire, and it's just look at the flames and the smoke. I mean, who doesn't love that?
Nobody probably, somebody doesn't love it.
Well, we love it, that's for sure, and I'm sure the rest of you production people out there will love it as well.
It's definitely a rental camera, and who knows, in a few more years, we might be getting up to 400 frames a second with some of the 4K stuff, cameras. But then we'll be on 8K, so who knows, so. But it's definitely a one-trick pony. I mean, it is really designed purposely for the slow motion. Also, I think they designed it to be lightweight so you can move the camera really fast, maybe on a robotic arm or something like that.
Yeah, they have it on their website on some robotic arms. And then there's another thing is that it has unlimited recording time, unlimited capture. Like a lot of these high-speed cameras, like you only have a few seconds when you hit the button before it'll stop recording. And then there's like a RAM buffer and everything like that before you can even see it. But this one, I mean, you hit the button and it keeps recording until you stop hitting the button or until you run out of space on the drive.
Does it record over though?
It does not record over that I can see. There is a format button. There was no way to actually delete individual files that I saw in our limited time with it.
Talk about post, like you just, hey, they just pull right out of the camera. What else you gotta do to view?
Good question, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have the program right here. Now they have their own proprietary codec, and I don't know what it's called, but you can't just pull it into Premiere or any other editor. You have to download their program, which they have for Mac or Windows. It's called the Wave Player, and then you actually have to pull the files into here, and then you'll have to, you can actually do some adjustments over here on the side with like highlights, shadows, gamma, so on and so forth. And then you'll have to export, and at this point, you can re-export to the native, or you can go to the SynForm, H.264, or you can do some PNG or JPEG sequences. And you can choose 24, 25, or 30 frame playback speed back. So I actually, those files, the native files are super huge, so I had to actually, after I converted, I had to delete them off the hard drive, which is why I don't have any here. At least I don't think I do. Let me just double check. No, I do not have any. So once you make your adjustments here, and then you can actually, trim off the pieces that you don't need, because when you hit that thing and say, you're gonna hit the record button and then you like let it go too long and you have all these frames that you don't need, you can trim that on down before you export. And then you can export it. We chose H.265 at 30 frames per second. But it is an extra step that you'll need to do to get the high-speed footage into an editable format. What do you think?
I mean, I think if I had to put this into a quote, it's going to be, hey, a restaurant job where I have a bunch of liquid drinks and they have like martinis and very specific drinks that they mix. I think that would be cool. Any kind of Second Amendment kind of stuff, gun manufacturers or anything like that, to show round and ballistics, that's always cool as well. And then other than that, I mean, I don't know, anything that has a high-speed ability to it. I know that years ago I did one for a hurricane glass protection where I rented a slow-motion camera. That was $4,000. That was 15 years ago, to show 2x4s going into windows and impacts and stuff. So that's where this camera shines, and it's definitely more of a rental house feature. For you to buy this camera, put it in your shelf, man, I hope you have those clients like every other week. Would make sense, but if you don't, then yeah, it's a rental.
I would say if you're doing, product videography or any kind of stuff where you could do like really cool slow motion, it would be a good camera to have for that, like in your kit.
I don't know if it's a good camera. I have to argue that it's an adequate camera for the price point. Let's be real here.
It is an adequate camera for the price point. Of course, a Phantom Flex would be so much better, but to rent that, it was like $7,000.
Like $4,000, yeah. So it'll get the job done. Is it going to impress you? Like, you'll get some cool slow-mo and be very impressed with it. But as far as like bragging about the camera, it's just really, it's a hammer. It's a specific hammer for a specific nail. That's all that is.
I think you're right about that.
And now hammer.
But if you're on a tight budget and you can't afford to rent the Phantom Flex camera, this could be a good alternative.
This is your solution.
It's a decent alternative. I wouldn't say it's a great alternative, but it's pretty decent.
Yeah, so this is like your $4,000 or $5,000 budget. Your Phantom, that's when you have your $10,000 or $15,000, realizing that half that's gonna go to the camera.
I would say that your budget would have to be higher for
probably $20,000, yeah, $30,000.
To do the Phantom Flex camera for your shoot, we're talking like $50,000, $100,000.
Yeah, because you probably want some really cool lighting and some good support to go with that. But you know, for your $5,000 client, all day long, you can play in that world of the Phantom Flex for.
And that is another thing. When you go higher in the frame rates on these high-speed cameras, you're gonna need a lot more light.
A lot more light, and don't forget about hard drive space. I mean that, you know, can bite you in the ass.
Yeah,
too.
this one has the internal 2 terabyte hard drive space, and I think the most that I shot in a day was about 300 gigabytes, 400 gigabytes. But that's not like shooting a bunch of stuff. That's just going click, click for each shot.
Yeah, true that.
So
there you go. There you have it.
So, you know, are we gonna run out and buy this camera right away? No. Will we possibly rent this camera for a client shoot if we can sell them on some high-speed video? Yes, especially if they have a lower budget. But if they have a higher budget, we'll probably go with the Phantom.
There you go.
So that, I think, is gonna wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Today's episode, the review of the FreeFly Wave camera. And that's gonna wrap it up.
That's gonna wrap it.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys. Keep your eyes closed. Don't look at some of your eyes open. Because there's no right way or wrong way. There's just my way, which is the right way. Isn't that right?